August 2021. Lionel Messi stands at a press conference, unable to control his tears. Barcelona, drowning in €1.35 billion of debt, cannot afford to keep him. The greatest player in their history is leaving, not by choice, but because the club is effectively bankrupt. This is how empires fall. To understand Barcelona's crisis, you have to go back to 2017. Neymar leaves for Paris Saint-Germain for €222 million. The largest transfer in football history. Instead of rebuilding with patience and structure, Barcelona panics. The money burns a hole in their pocket. €160 million on Felipe Coutinho. €105 million on Ousmane Dembele. €120 million on Antoine Griezmann. Huge fees, huge wages. Very little balance. None of them truly fit the system that once made Barcelona untouchable. But reckless transfers were only part of the disaster. By 2020, Barcelona's wage bill reached 110% of their revenue. They were paying out more than they were earning. Messi alone was making over €100 million per year, including loyalty bonuses. His 4-year contract signed in 2017 totaled €555 million, the largest deal in sports history. Griezmann earned €800,000 per week. Veterans were handed extensions on inflated salaries. The structure wasn't just fragile, it was unsustainable. Then COVID-19 hit. Matchday revenue disappeared overnight. Camp Nou, once a financial fortress, stood empty. Broadcasting income declined. Commercial revenue weakened. The carefully stacked house of cards collapsed. By summer 2021, Barcelona's total debt reached €1.35 billion. La Liga enforces strict financial regulations. Clubs must operate within salary limits tied to revenue. Barcelona was so far beyond the limit, they couldn't register new signings. They couldn't even renew contracts properly. The numbers simply did not add up. That is why Messi cried. He agreed to reduce his salary by 50%. He wanted to stay. But even that wasn't enough. La Liga refused the registration. Barcelona had reached a point where emotion no longer mattered. Only accounting did. Joan Laporta returned as president in March 2021 and inherited a club on the brink of administration. His first move was survival. He secured a €500 million loan just to stabilize daily operations. Then came the controversial decisions. Barcelona sold 25% of their La Liga television rights for the next 25 years for more than €500 million. They sold 49% of Marca studios. They were mortgaging the future to survive the present. The empire had collapsed. Now it had to decide how to rebuild. In November 2021, Laporta sacked Ronald Koeman and appointed Xavi Hernandez. The midfielder, who once orchestrated Barcelona's greatest era, returned to manage during its darkest. His coaching experience was limited to Qatar with Al Sadd. No European pedigree. No experience managing a financial crisis of this magnitude. But he understood Barcelona's identity better than anyone. Xavi inherited chaos. A squad weighed down by massive contracts. Veterans past their physical peak. A tactical system diluted by years of instability. There was almost no money to fix it. The January transfer window summed up the absurdity. Ferran Torres arrived in a deal worth around €55 million. Structured in installments because Barcelona couldn't afford upfront payment. Even then, registering him required desperate financial maneuvering. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang joined on a free transfer. Everything felt reactive. Behind the scenes, Laporta made the boldest decision of the rebuild. Barcelona would bet on La Masia, not as nostalgia, not as philosophy, as necessity. Pedri, signed for just €7 million, became one of the most intelligent young midfielders in Europe. Gavi, promoted at 17, brought aggression and intensity that the team desperately lacked. Xavi didn't hesitate. He benched established names. He demanded work rate. He restored discipline. The 2021-22 season ended without silverware. Barcelona finished second in La Liga, 13 points behind Real Madrid. They exited the Champions League group stage for the first time in over 2 decades. But something was changing. The squad was younger, hungrier. The wage bill slowly began shrinking. By summer 2022, Barcelona had enough financial flexibility for one decisive move. Robert Lewandowski arrived from Bayern Munich for €50 million. At 34 years old, he brought goals and leadership. It was a pragmatic signing. The kids needed a reference point. They needed a finisher. The gamble was clear. Youth for the future. Experience for the present. The 2022-23 season began with cautious optimism. Barcelona looked structured, organized, mentally stronger. Then, history quietly unfolded. Lamine Yamal made his debut at just 15 years and 290 days old. Within months, he wasn't just participating. He was influencing matches with fearless creativity. Suddenly, Barcelona possessed something rare: Pedri, Gavi, Yamal. Three generational talents playing without hesitation. They weren't development projects. They were starting El Clasico. La Liga became controlled dominance. Barcelona went on long unbeaten runs, blending patient possession with direct attacking transitions. They defeated Real Madrid 4-0 at the Bernabeu in a performance that felt symbolic. Gavi dominated midfield battles. Lewandowski delivered goals with ruthless efficiency. The teenagers played like veterans. By April 2023, Barcelona clinched La Liga with 4 games remaining. Their first league title in 4 years. Ter Stegen conceded just 13 goals all season, producing one of the best defensive campaigns in modern European football. Lewandowski won the Pichichi with 23 goals in his debut season. The Champions League remained a weakness. Another group stage exit reminded everyone that rebuilding with teenagers takes time, but domestically, the evidence was undeniable. Barcelona could compete again, without reckless spending, without abandoning their philosophy. The academy gamble had worked. Success did not erase financial reality. Summer 2023 brought familiar problems. Despite being champions, Barcelona was still above La Liga's salary cap. They couldn't freely register new signings. Ilkay Gundogan arrived on a free transfer. Joao Cancelo and Joao Felix came on loan. But registrations required last-minute negotiations, contract restructures, and asset sales. Laporta continued balancing competitiveness with survival. Critics called it dangerous. Short-term thinking, financial gambling. Laporta's argument remained simple. If Barcelona stopped competing, revenue would collapse further. Winning was part of the recovery plan. Then came disaster. In November 2023, Gavi ruptured his ACL while playing for Spain. The emotional engine of the midfield was gone. Barcelona lost balance and intensity. Results became inconsistent. Real Madrid reclaimed La Liga. Barcelona exited the Champions League in the quarterfinals. Frustrated and exhausted, Xavi announced he would step down at the end of the season. The rebuild had hit resistance. The story was never going to be linear. From the moment Messi cried in August 2021, to lifting La Liga in May 2023, with academy graduates at the core, Barcelona proved something important. You can rebuild without unlimited wealth. You can compete by trusting your identity. You can create value instead of buying it. The financial crisis isn't fully resolved. The debt remains heavy. The margin for error is small. But Barcelona rediscovered something more important than money. They rediscovered belief. La Masia is no longer just history. It is strategy. It is sustainability. It is competitive advantage. Some clubs are powered by oil states and billionaires. Barcelona chose a harder path. They chose development over desperation, identity over shortcuts. The empire did fall, but it did not disappear. It adapted, endured, and began rising again.